thought that was the perfect lead into the interview, mate.
Yeah, well, thanks for the. It's a bit hard to live up to, mate. That's a problem.
All right, let's talk about your football career first, and then we're going to move to your tennis career.
My family history goes back to 1898 with Collingwood, when my great uncle first played. Then a succession of involvement with Collingwood, certainly with my grandfather. He was party to the lease, at least the Victoria Park to Collingwood on long term. Then my uncles played in the 4 premiership 27 to 30 period. Didn't play in a premiership, but represented the club during that time. That was Leo and Tom. Tom went on to be curator of the Victoria Park for about 40 years. So that house on the corner of Luley Street and Trinity Crescent was where my uncle lived, and with his family. So that was easy entree into the ground. And then my cousin, Kevin Wiley, that was my mother's sister's boy, the Wileys from Alphington. Then I played, and then my 2 sons, Tony and Mark, played. So we hold, I suppose, a record for the longest continual participation, 7 players. I think the Panhams and the Richards have 6. So we're not as publicised as Louis used to do with his family, but that's a fact, and we're very proud of that. So that was part of, I suppose, a bit of a drive to Collingwood in terms of no deviation, no thought of any other club, and seemed destined to be somewhere within my scope.
You're always going to be there, and you landed there in 1958, having captained the Parade Premiership, undefeated Premiership side in 57, which Kev Ryan and I were both pleased to be members of. But could we bring up photo 1? Thanks,
okay,
Bruce.
This is better than 3AW, mate. I thought I'd have to get my own panel person, but
you'll be all right.
That's great.
It's Brian.
Oh, heavens.
It's Brian, 58 at Collingwood, and bring up number 2, I think, as well.
okay.
That's a bit of action shot.
There, that's right. Yeah.
Now, okay, then we'll bring up photograph 3. Now, Brian, 58's your first year, and you end up playing in a premiership team, and it's a very significant premiership team. Brian, let's talk about your tennis career. Mm-hmm. Now, you started in tennis at a young age. Just take us through your playing career, and then we'll move into your coaching, because you were extensively involved in coaching, and then of course in administration.
Well, I was a late starter because in Clifton Hill there weren't many tennis players. Around Collingwood, Abbotsford, Clifton Hill, Fitzroy, you either played football, and then you went to cricket. And it wasn't until I went away on a holiday, a tennis person said I might have a bit of talent for tennis. So Dad got me coached at South Yarra, Brian Slattery, who was a noted coach at that time, coaching Ashley Cooper, Neil and John Fraser, Judy Taggart, all Wimbledon competitors and winners. So, it was a wonderful place to be in terms of inspiration and sort of mentoring, and to be able to learned there and gradually come through the process under Brian's tutelage.
So you played at South Yarra, well, Royal South Yarra as it's known.
Yeah, well, that was after I played at Fitzroy. And Fitzroy, 57, I was playing, I was still at school with you and playing in our school team. So to sort of keep the tennis theme going.
Is that the courts next to the footy ground?
Yes.
Yeah.
And you had to be careful when you were playing pennant on I played a pennant for Fitzroy with a fellow named Bob Mark, who went on to win the Australian Open and Rod Laver's doubles partner. So Bobby used to come down every Friday night on the train from Albury and stayed our place over the weekend. So I had the benefit of practicing with like the Davis Cup squad because Harry would include me, and so I'll come out with Bob, and so to fall into that situation was well fantastic, helped me out a lot. But so how adjacent the tennis courts are to, and up on that hill where you can look across the tennis courts as well as the footy ground at quarter time, half time, and 3/4 time. The crowd would turn around and watch the tennis. But not only watch the tennis, they give us some friendly advice like, you little poofter, why don't you go and play a man's game? And certain suggestions of that nature. And they'd flick bottle tops. So you throw the ball up to serve and suddenly you'd see a bottle top or a halfpenny fly across the top of your racket. So they had a wonderful time. So as soon as the footy resumed, of course, they turned their back on us and start. Little did they know that the next year, 58, I would be out on the other side of the ground. So things turned around, but that was one of the fears of playing at halftime.
So you continued on playing pennant with South Yarra?
Yes, I did. But football interrupted the pennant situation. It was only when I retired and went back to coaching in junior leagues that I resumed at Royal South Yarra. And then I played down at Liston Esplanade, which is down in Williamstown. So as well as playing country tournaments under the sponsorship of the Slashingers, and travelling to New South Wales, Victoria and South Australia to play in the what you consider now the major circuit, the international circuit, where you'd play a round or two, then you'd come up across against Emo or Rod or Neil. So many of the top players, Fred Stolley, Bob Hewitt. I mean, I played all those, and most of them stayed at our house in Clifton Hill. So, I mean, and Harry Hoffman was very friendly and attentive, and often Harry never drove, so he'd ring Dad and say, "What's Brian and Ed doing?" Ed's my brother, younger brother, who went on to represent Australia in universities competitions, and he was probably the tennis player footballer, where I was the footballer tennis player.
Yeah. Tell us the story about Jimmy Connor's racket.
Well, our eldest son Tony was one of the head ball boys. Jimmy came out in 74.
74, yeah.
Yeah, and he and Chrissy, and I looked after them. So every time Jimmy went to practice, Tony was about 1 metre behind him and would pick up balls and, just interested, but just loved the, I suppose, the enjoyment of being closest to the best player in the world. Anyhow, Jimmy said, "Look, mate," he said, if I if I win the tournament, I'll give you my racket. Well, he did. He won the tournament and beat Teddy in the final. And within the flash of an eyelid, Tony was standing behind Jimmy, sort of, you know, being available. I was lucky to live through and join in, like with Frank Sedgman and Ken McGregor and Lou and Ken. I mean, they're fantastic rocket coming through. I mean, I'd be sitting in the stand and Rocket would come up and say, what a hit. Can you imagine Roger Federer walking up the grandstand stairs and saying, do you want to hit to some poor fucker who's just sitting there with his rackets? I mean, these are amazing people who just took it as it came and had no fanfare. They just got on with what they did the best, which was to play tennis. And I've often said, just once, I'd like to hear Sedge or Ken or Rod, Margaret, I mean, just say, gee, I was a good tennis player. You'll never hear it because that's what they were. They got on with it. It was so ecumenical and so generous with their time. And they were good people. Emma, you know, he'd wipe you off the court and say, how about a beer? So you'd be just fantastic. So that era